Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's as chilling as it is puzzling, the New Orleans Axeman. If you're into true crime, mysteries, and a dash of the supernatural, you're in for a treat. So, grab your detective hats and let's get started. Picture this, the year is 1918, and the vibrant city of New Orleans, known for its lively jazz music and rich culture, is suddenly plunged into an atmosphere thick with dread and unease. Imagine walking down those cobblestone streets, feeling the weight of every shadow, jumping at every sound. That's because a dark cloud has settled over the city, and its name is fear. Now, let's talk about Catherine and Joseph, a seemingly ordinary couple who found themselves at the epicenter of this nightmare. They were in the sanctuary of their own home, a place where we all feel safe, right? But on that fateful night, their home turned into a scene straight out of a horror movie. The door creaked open, footsteps echoed through the hallways, and before they knew it, they were facing the unimaginable, an intruder wielding an axe. The brutality of the attack was chilling. Blood splattered on the walls, screams filled the air, and yet the assailant took nothing, no money, no valuables. The only thing he left behind was the axe, cold and bloodied, a haunting reminder of the terror he inflicted. And here's what sends shivers down my spine. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong, this was something far more sinister. It was as if the attacker wanted to send a message, a declaration of the reign of terror that was about to unfold. Catherine and Joseph were not just victims. They were a warning to the entire city. So, you see, this wasn't just an isolated incident. It was the opening act in a series of horrors that would grip New Orleans for years to come. The Axeman had arrived, and he was announcing himself in the most terrifying way possible. Okay, folks, let's take a moment to step into the shoes of the editor at the Times-Picayune newspaper back in 1990. Picture this, you're sifting through the Daily Mail, expecting the usual letters to the editor, news tips, maybe some advertisements. But then, your hand freezes as you pull out a letter that's unlike any other. The handwriting is erratic, almost as if the person was trembling while writing it. Your heart starts to race, you can feel it, something's off. As you unfold the paper, the words jump out at you, I am the Axeman. Just let that sink in. The person terrorizing your city, the monster turning homes into crime scenes, is now communicating directly with you. And what he has to say is nothing short of bone-chilling. He describes himself as a fell demon from hot as hell. Now, that's not just someone trying to be menacing. That's someone who truly believes they are an instrument of terror, a creature not just from nightmares but from the very depths of hell itself. The audacity, the sheer nerve of this individual to not only commit these heinous acts but to then boast about it in writing is beyond comprehension. But here's where it gets even more bizarre. This demon, this harbinger of doom, has a peculiar request. He's not asking for money or issuing a political statement. He's asking for jazz music to be played. Yes, you heard that right, jazz music. Play it, or else, he warns. It's as if he's mocking the very culture of New Orleans, turning its soulful music into a soundtrack for terror. So, what do? Do you comply, turning the city into a massive jazz concert, hoping to appease this madman? Or do you defy him, risking another attack? It's a moral dilemma, a twisted game, and the stakes couldn't be higher. This letter wasn't just a message, it was a psychological warfare tactic, designed to instill fear, confusion, and a sense of helplessness. And let me tell you, it worked. The city was on edge, the tension was palpable, and jazz music would never sound the same again. Okay, guys, we've talked about the terror, the fear, and the chilling letters. But now, let's shift our focus to something equally important but often overlooked: the survivors. These are the individuals who stared death in the face and lived to tell the tale. Their stories are not just accounts of survival, they're testaments to the indomitable human spirit. First, let's talk about Louis Bessemer and Anna Lowe. This couple found themselves in the Axeman's crosshairs, and the experience was nothing short of nightmarish. Picture this, it's late at night, and suddenly, their world is shattered by the sound of breaking glass, followed by the cold steel of an axe. They fought, they screamed, and they survived, but not without cost. Anna, tragically, later succumbed to her injuries, but not before giving crucial information to the police. Louis, on the other hand, carried the physical and emotional scars for the rest of his life. Their story is a chilling reminder that survival doesn't always mean a happy ending. Now, let's talk about Mrs. Schneider. Her story is nothing short of miraculous. She was not just any victim, she was a pregnant woman carrying the promise of a new life. The Axeman broke into her home, and despite the horror, despite the danger to both her and her unborn child, she survived. Can you even begin to imagine the courage it took for her to fight back? To protect not just herself but the life growing inside her. And here's the part that will give you goosebumps. She later gave birth to a healthy baby. If that's not resilience, I don't know what is. These survivors were not just statistics. They were people with families, dreams, and lives that were irrevocably changed. They were the flickering candles in a room full of darkness, proving that even in the face of unimaginable evil, there's hope. Their stories serve as a stark contrast to the Axeman's reign of terror, showing us that even when faced with the worst of humanity, the human spirit can triumph. Alright, folks, we've reached the part of the story where things go from being terrifyingly real to almost surreal. We've talked about the attacks, the letters, the music, and the survivors. But the question that still haunts us, the enigma that turns this from a crime story into a lasting legend is, who was the Axeman? Now, let's dive into the rabbit hole of theories. And trust me, it's a deep one. First up, the supernatural angle. Some people, believe it or not, thought the Axeman was not of this world. They saw him as a demonic entity, a malevolent spirit who could pass through walls and vanish into thin air. And let's be honest, given the Axeman's own description of himself as a fell demon, it's not hard to see why this theory gained traction. But could a city really be haunted by a demon with a penchant for jazz music? It's a question that tickles the imagination, even if it defies logic. Next, we have the mafia theory. New Orleans was a melting pot of cultures, and organized crime was not unheard of. Some speculated that the Axeman was a mafia hitman, targeting Italian grocers for reasons unknown. It's a theory grounded in the harsh realities of the time, but it doesn't quite explain the bizarre letters or the jazz music obsession. And then, there's the theory that the Axeman was just a deranged individual, a lone wolf with a twisted mind and a thirst for violence. It's perhaps the most unsettling theory because it suggests that the monster we're looking for is not a ghost or a gangster, but a man, a flesh and blood human being capable of unimaginable cruelty. But wait, there's more. Let's talk about Joseph Mumfree. This guy was a suspect who met a fate as dramatic as the crimes he was accused of. He was killed by a woman who claimed he was the Axeman. Now, whether she was a vigilante hero or just another victim of the hysteria is up for debate. But her actions added another layer of complexity to an already convoluted tale. So, you see, the theories are as numerous as they are fascinating, each one offering a different lens through which to view this chilling saga. And that's what makes the story of the Axeman so enduring. It's not just a crime, it's a mystery, a puzzle that we're all still trying to solve, even a century later. Okay, guys, let's take a moment to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. We've talked about the terror, the survivors, and the swirling vortex of theories. But there's one detail, one pattern that stands out like a sore thumb: the Italian connection. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's hard not to notice that a significant number of the Axeman's victims were Italian grocers. This isn't just a footnote, it's a glaring detail that begs the question, why? Was the Axeman targeting Italians specifically? And if so, what did he have against them? Let's consider the possibility that this was a hate crime. The early 20th century was a time of social upheaval, and xenophobia was unfortunately not uncommon. Italians, among other immigrant groups, often faced discrimination. Could the Axeman have been motivated by a deep-seated prejudice? Was he using his reign of terror to send a message to the Italian community, to make them feel unwelcome, unsafe? It's a dark theory, but one that we can't entirely rule out. But then again, could it all just be a bizarre coincidence? Maybe the Axeman had no particular vendetta against Italians. Maybe they were just convenient targets. But if that's the case, why the pattern? Why did he leave behind a trail of victims that pointed so clearly to a specific community? It's almost as if he wanted us to ask these questions, to ponder his motives, to keep the mystery alive. You see, the Italian connection adds another layer of ambiguity to an already murky story. It challenges us to think not just about who the Axeman was, but also about the society he operated in. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable realities of discrimination and social division, even as we grapple with the horror of the crimes themselves. So, was this a hate crime, or just a series of tragic coincidences? Like so many aspects of this story, the answer remains elusive, lost in the mists of time and speculation. And that's what makes the Axeman's tale not just a crime story, but a social commentary, a mirror reflecting the complexities and contradictions of the world he terrorized. So, here we are, at the end of a journey that's taken us through the darkest corners of human nature and the deepest mysteries of a city's history. But is it really the end? That's the question that haunts anyone who delves into the story of the Axeman. Because, you see, after 1919, the attacks just stopped. The Axeman vanished, as if swallowed by the mists of the Mississippi River, leaving behind a city forever scarred but also forever puzzled. Now, let's entertain some possibilities. Was he caught? There's no record of anyone being arrested and conclusively proven to be the Axeman. No triumphant headlines, no sighs of relief, just an eerie silence. Could it be that he was apprehended for some other crime, locked away in a cell, his true identity never discovered? It's a possibility that offers some comfort, but also a chilling thought. What if he was right there, under the noses of the law, smirking at their ignorance? Or did he die? Maybe the Axeman met his end not at the hands of justice, but through some twist of fate, a fatal accident, or perhaps even a murder. It's an ironic but fitting end for a man who dealt in death. But if that's the case, where's the body? Where's the evidence? The lack of a conclusive ending only fuels the legend, turning the Axeman into a sort of urban myth, a boogeyman that parents might invoke to scare their children into behaving. And then there's the most unsettling theory of all. Did he simply move on to another city? Did he pack his bags, axe in hand, and take his reign of terror to new hunting grounds? The thought is terrifying because it means that the story isn't over, it's just paused, waiting to be resumed at another time, in another place. You see, the end of the Axeman is not an end at all, it's an ellipsis, a series of dots that invite us to imagine what comes next. And that's what makes this story so enduring, so haunting. It doesn't offer us the closure we crave. It leaves us with questions, with theories, with endless what-ifs. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the Axeman's greatest triumph is not the fear he instilled, but the mystery he left behind. A mystery that we, a century later, are still trying to solve. So, what happens when a story like this seeps into the fabric of a community, a city, or even a nation? It leaves behind a legacy, a cultural footprint that's as fascinating as it is unsettling. The Axeman didn't just vanish into the annals of crime history. He became a part of pop culture. Think about it. Songs have been written about him. Books have delved into the intricate details of his reign of terror, and forums online are still buzzing with theories and speculations. The Axeman has transcended the realm of true crime to become a sort of dark folklore. He's not just a killer, he's a legend, a myth, a story we tell to explore the complexities of fear, justice, and the human psyche. And perhaps that's the most chilling aspect of all. The case remains unsolved, a cold file gathering dust in some forgotten drawer. It's this lack of closure, this open-ended narrative that adds to its allure. We're all detectives in this story, piecing together clues, forming theories, and in doing so, keeping the Axeman's legacy alive. It's a story that refuses to die, much like the eerie notes of a jazz tune that linger long after the music has stopped. Wow, what a journey we've been on together, exploring the dark corners and hidden secrets of New Orleans history. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on this spine-tingling adventure. If this story has captivated you as much as it has me, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and of course, subscribe for more stories that will send shivers down your spine. And one last piece of advice, keep your doors locked and your jazz music playing, because you never know what lurks in the shadows. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and most importantly, stay safe.